Welcome to another interesting episode of your go-to show for real estate matters, the Property First Show, a production of Babsomo Communications. My name is Layali or Yatogun. On the show last week, we were with property experts discussing the rise in the cost of building materials. Did you miss that episode? Not to worry, search for Property First Show, watch, like, and leave a comment. With the worsening electricity supply situation in the country, many Nigerians have no choice but to look for alternative ways of powering their homes and businesses. Today on the show will be my searchlight on the available alternatives and the affordable ways of powering our homes. During the week, we went scouting for tastefully designed architectural masterpieces in serene environments for you, our great audience. We'll be revealing this right after this break on our Property Showcase segment. You don't want to miss this. On today's episode, we bring you two attractive properties built for that person who places a high premium on privacy and comfort. Both properties are located in the Lekki-Aja axis of Lagos. Our first property offering for today is a 4-bedroom detached duplex located in a quiet neighborhood in Osakpa, London area of Lekki, Lagos. On the ground floor of the building is a very spacious living room with a dining area and a visitor's toilet. There is also a fully furnished kitchen which boasts of appliances like a gas cooker with accompanying heat extractor, a washing machine, a microwave oven, and a marble-top work table. A back door in the kitchen leads you to the backyard where you have the boys' quarters. A marble-tiled staircase with stainless steel handrails leads you upstairs where you have a family lounge. 2 of the bedrooms open into the family lounge, one of which is a very large master bedroom and its own built-in wardrobe. A bookshelf. It has its own balcony made with glass and stainless steel. The bathroom is fitted with a glass cubicle shower, bathtub, water heater, wash and basin. The other rooms have similar features and all the doors and frames are made of polished wood. This building is connected to public power supply. Water supply is provided with the installation of a borehole and water treatment plant. The building is well secured with the installation of an electric fence, CCTV cameras, and entrance into the building is through very strong steel gates. Other features include intercom facilities. It also has ample parking space with a carport provided. For documentation, the building has governor's consent. Price 75 million naira. Now let's move to further down the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway to an area called Thomas Estate, about 500 meters off the expressway. Located within this neighborhood is another estate known as Victory Estate. Tucked away in a quiet location within this estate is a 4-bedroom semi-detached duplex with 1-room boys' quarters. This property, which sits on a 225 square meter land area, will be well appreciated by those who love a combination of elegance and tranquility. This property has the following features: a spacious living room with a dining area, a fully fitted kitchen with a gas cooker, heat extractor, washing machine, wash and basin on marble slabs for work area, and a store. All spaces within this building are fully tiled and all rooms are en-suite. Beautiful handrails on tiled staircase leads you upstairs where you have the family lounge, which leads to the master bedroom and 2 other bedrooms. The master bedroom has a walk-in closet and the bathroom is equipped with a cubicle shower, jacuzzi, wash and basin, water closet and water heater. The view from the master bedroom balcony is breathtaking. The family lounge also has its balcony. Other features in the building include a central sound system with speakers and volume control, a variety of modern light fittings and switches in the different rooms and spaces. Provision is made for cable TV. Within the premises is a carport and a gatehouse. The building is secured with an electric fence and entry is through a high-quality sliding metal gate. Power and water supply are provided. This building is available at the price of 55 million naira net. There you have it, 2 lovely properties, spacious living rooms, furnished kitchen, iron detail, amazing view. Ooh, I can see the phone lines buzzing already. If you're interested, call the number 090-2023-2719 or send a mail to propertyfirst@babsomocommunications.com, or you can send a message to Property First Show on all our social media platforms. Do make sure you do your due diligence before purchase, and remember to invite the crew for lunch after you seal the deal. Do you have a real estate product, service, or property for sale you'd like the world to see? Is it within or outside Nigeria? Would you like us to showcase it for you on this program? Then call the number 090-2023-2719 or 081-8653-3938. You can also send an email to propertyfirst@babsomocommunications.com. Up next is the Real Estate Digest. Don't go away. Real Estate Digest brought to you by Nightstone Properties. Mass housing. Chinese investors set to invest in housing schemes for low and middle income earners across the country. Ikorodu community in Lagos State earmarks 10 acres of land for construction of military barrack. Kano governor issues acquisition notice to landowners of proposed NNPC mega gas pipeline. Inspector General of Police discloses commencement of post-retirement housing unit for its personnel across the country. Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria refunds 9 billion naira housing fund to retirees nationwide. Edo State creates 3,000 jobs with National Housing Program. Land use charge. Unilag recommends rental, not capital-based property assessment. Real Estate Digest was brought to you by Nightstone Properties. As electricity supply remains poor in the country, many Nigerians are forced to seek alternative ways of generating power for their homes and businesses. However, with the bad economic situation, a lot of Nigerians are unable to afford these alternative power sources, and this results in the fact that they stay in their homes without power. It is therefore necessary to seek ways of generating power for use in our homes across the country. Our expert today will be taking us through the various alternative power sources that exist for use in the home. I have with me none other than the MD CEO of AED Technologies, Okey, Obiagwu. Hello sir, how are you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show, welcome to Property First.
Thank you very much.
When we say alternative power sources, what do we mean by that, and what are these alternatives?
Alternative sources of power are power from other sources that are not like mainly fossil fuel, generally which are not renewable. So once you use it, you're using up the fuel, and the source of it is finite, so it finishes from which is what the case you have with diesel or petrol. There are sources of crude oil does finish in the ground eventually. So on the alternatives, we look towards renewable sources, which are things like solar power, which the sunlight is always constant. We look at wind power and also hydro, which is the energy from flowing water. also is a renewable source of power, which all come under alternative energy.
Of all the available alternative power sources, the use of power generators seems to be the most common. Why is it so?
So the generator, well, is not alternative, that is the main. So we are now looking at the alternatives to the generator. The reason why it's the most common had to do, one, with cost initially, in that fossil fuels and then generator power were the easiest way to get power. You buy fuel, you put in your generator, they can build generators up to whatever capacity is required. While in the past, many years ago, if you try to replicate that with solar power, you would spend 10 times more. Now, in this century, or say solar panel prices have come down drastically. The cost to produce energy from solar is now more affordable. The space required has drastically reduced. Before, you needed tons of land to put enough panels to give you power. Now you don't need the roof of a house is enough nowadays. So that's what has changed the equation. It's now cheaper to provide power from solar than from diesel or petrol, for example.
What about the use of power inverters? Can you shed more light on that?
Power inverters really work an inverter is essentially a device that converts DC to AC. So it takes DC power, the direct current, and converts it to alternate current, which is what you use in your homes. That's really what an inverter is. Now, the source of the direct current of the DC is from batteries. So the advantage of inverters is that they store, the energy is stored in the battery. Generally, whenever you have power from the grid or from your generator, it stores some of the excess of it that you're not using in the house in the battery. And when there is no power, you can now use the inverter, power out from the batteries through the inverter.
What is the level of acceptance or recognition of the use of solar power in the country presently?
Yes, now it is. In the past, I would say 3-4 years in Nigeria, maybe back 5 years, the awareness to solar power has really picked up, it's skyrocketed. Pretty much everybody now knows about it. Initially it was seen as expensive, but because the prices are coming down now, it's making more sense to a lot of people. And so it is very well known now in Nigeria. Nigeria has caught up. The rest of the world was a bit ahead on that aspect, but we're catching up very quickly.
Can you describe to us how solar power can be used in homes? And what are the equipment or components involved in a standard solar power setup?
Really, there are 4 main components that form the solar system. First is the solar panels themselves. These are usually mounted on your roof or can be mounted on the ground where they have access to direct sunlight. The solar panels, what they do is they convert sunlight to electrical energy. That's generally what they do. So they need to be exposed to the sun. Once the sun hits them, they convert that to current. Usually DC is direct current, DC it produces. That direct current would then normally be channeled straight to a battery. But because of differences in voltage and capacities of batteries with the matching with the panels, you have a device in between which we call a charge controller. So that's the second component. The charge controller basically takes the power from the solar panels and converts it to what the battery can handle or use. It prevents the battery from being overcharged or undercharged or being given too much voltage and blowing it up. So that's what the controller has to be there, else you run the risk of all those. The third component will be the batteries themselves, which is now, because you only have the sun during the day, at night you get no production from the panels. So you need to store the excess you produce during the day somewhere if you really want to stretch your usage of it. So that's where the batteries come in. The batteries will now store the excess power they are not using in the house, and those are stored in the battery, so it continues to charge the battery until the batteries are fully charged. And then the final component is the inverter, which we have talked about earlier, which now converts the energy from the batteries to AC, which you can now use in your house, and most of your appliances run. If you had DC appliances, which is beginning to make a little bit of headway now, you wouldn't need an inverter, you could run straight off the DC. Based on our environment, say Nigeria and Africa, even on a rainy day, you will always get some production from your solar panels. They've always produced because the sun still does come out. The clouds interrupt it from time to time. So on a rainy day, you probably get about half of what you would get on a sunny day. So not that you don't get anything, so it's about half. So that's where very good engineering and sizing of your solar panels matter. You would have excess capacity in your design to cover for days like that. Also, you would put a bit excess capacity in your batteries to carry you for when there's not, so that at least it can run the whole day even if the sun didn't come out. So that's where the engineering matters.
Are there any constraints other than pricing to the level of usage of solar energy power?
Okay, I already mentioned the second constraint, which had to do with nighttime. You don't get any at all at night, so it's not a case of half on a rainy day. Night is zero. Don't get, so that's a constraint. Then, so you need to then depend on your battery storage during the night. Battery prices are still significantly high and still higher than the cost of a solar panel to begin with.
Oh, so it is not for the common man?
It is. We'll get to that. It is now. Battery prices are still expensive relatively, and they're not coming down as fast as solar panels. So that aspect still does make it a bit expensive. That's one drawback. The second one is battery reliability too. Solar panels are extremely reliable. They last 20-25 years. Once you put it, you can forget about it.
Really?
Yes, solar panels, they don't even require any maintenance. Generally, even the rainy season works to its advantage in that the rain cleans the surface of it. So after a good rain, your panels probably produce more the next day than before the rain came. But yes, they do, so they don't have issues at all. The only one that requires a bit of, we say reliability issues, would be the batteries themselves. Most people that already had inverters before solar came in knows every couple of years the batteries die and you have to change them.
Would you say you're satisfied with the level of awareness of Nigerians about the available alternative sources of power for their homes?
I wouldn't say satisfied. I'm saying it's there. The awareness is there. It can still be better, especially in the awareness of its efficiency. They are aware of its existence. But with different customers we meet or people you talk to, you still get cases where they complain, does it actually work? And we'll say, of course it works, we know it works. And then it's like, well, this person had this problem on it, and most of the problem have to do with the engineering. Sometimes when you're running away from cost, you give somebody something that won't meet his need, and then he thinks the whole technology doesn't work. But he didn't provide to him what will work in the first place. So those are the things. So there's still awareness in that it works. And in some cases, depending on your circumstances, you may need more solar panels or you may need more batteries. Yeah, it's all about the synergy of the two. Everything, you have to match the whole system. If everything is matching, you get value for it. If not, you lose some value and then you may think it's just not good enough.
Does Nigeria have a functional solar power plan? If so, how effective is it, or what is the state of the plan?
Nigeria as a country has a plan. I think is they want 30% of the power in the country to be generated from alternative sources by 2030. So it's still a couple of years down the line. 30% is a very significant number, and it looks, from a layman's point of view, it looks, is this possible? But it actually is, because water, hydro, it's already very popular in Nigeria. We already have Kainji Dam. So a lot of our power is already being produced from hydro. So that's counting as part of all the alternative sources. So it's now just to add the solar and the wind to it.
Wind, how does that work?
Okay, so the wind turbines, if you're in an area where you have a very steady, good amount of wind, the turbine has blades. And when the wind blows through, it makes the blade just like your fan. It works like your fan in the reverse order. You put current to make the fan spin. This one spins because of the wind passing through it and creates voltage back in. Just the reverse of a fan. That's essentially how the wind turbines work. And actually, they are extremely very good devices. The only problem with them is the availability of wind. Nothing wrong with the product. It's an extremely good source of power. So places in the world, you can see what they call very large wind farms, where they have maybe 100 turbines in one place. Just give space them maybe a few feet from each other. Because the wind is good, all of them are spinning, generating tons amount of energy. Wind actually gives you the highest amount of energy with the least amount of space required. So they don't require that much space, just need to get that's one advantage of it. The only disadvantage is the environment. If you don't have wind, there's nothing you can do.
In a populated place like Lagos, you really don't have wind around.
If you were doing a wind turbine in Lagos, you would be looking at the coast, near the beaches. That's where you would go and check, get a good one, then line up a few turbines along that coast. Transmitting the power into the town is not a problem. That would be so wind would probably have to be done in a larger scale, not for individual homes, large scale, and then you bring it into the town.
So, sir, are you saying that in the nearest future we wouldn't have to rely on PHCN?
Well, yes. PHCN itself, it's supposed to, like many companies abroad, provide power from alternative sources. So it's still coming from them.
PHCN, they're not very reliable.
Their reliability has nothing to do with their source of power. It has to do with other factors, whether it's their transmission or distribution networks. The source of power are fine. Most of the gas power turbines still run continuously. They don't shut down when you're losing light. It's not so. And then all of the hydro work all year round. So a lot of their problem has to do with transmission and distribution. So they should actually be at the forefront of the alternative source of energy as well, because it's no longer too expensive to do. So the PHCN build a wind farm somewhere in Lagos and use that to power the whole of Lagos and not take it off the main grid.
So, sir, if I want uninterruptible power supply, how many alternative sources do I need to have in my home?
If you wanted uninterrupted 24 hours, you could do it alone with solar, without the grid. So within packages, most of us, there's off-grid package, which takes you completely off the grid. All you look at is what is your normal power consumption and size your panels, give you enough panels, enough batteries that you don't need to ever have light. You also add a few extra panels to compensate for bad weather days, have a few extra batteries to run for those days. And once it's all sized properly, you never need to even be on the grid. In fact, abroad, it's very common, but what they do there, unlike what we do here, is they feed the excess back to the grid. Very common there. People who have off-grid houses actually give more power back to the grid. So their meters will run the opposite direction when they're supplying out and then when they're receiving. So in their cases, they may not even want to have batteries at all, since their supply is already 24 hours. So they just put solar panels and feed it back when they're not using it, the excess. So at the end of the month, their bill may end up being zero or negative. In the end, they may even be owing them money.
Solar power is a feature in Nigeria, right?
The thing is, Nigeria, the government more or less has bought into it, in that they have a plan to go at least 30% of our power, and for many years to come, they keep increasing the ratio of alternatives to this. So the plan is in place. Its implementation is usually the issue with the government in Nigeria. So it's just to keep pushing them and coming up with this. One issue which strange that was happening in Nigeria had to do with the importation of solar panels, where there's no duty, which is exactly great.
That's great.
Great. It has always been there, but recently customs started trying to reinterpret it and started applying 5 or 10% duty to which the Renewable Association, Energy Association of Nigeria has been fighting with government to make sure that's corrected, because it was specifically written into the customs code and given zero duty for that reason, to encourage the use of it. Now they're trying to misinterpret it and try to put some duty on it, but those are things government should be doing, giving duties, which they are doing, which it was there before, and I guess after meeting with the government, we should get that fixed again. Another area government involvement is pretty much required is in the financing.
So what role should government play in encouraging private sector investment in solar power generation?
Okay. The main area they should look at, of course, is in the area of duties for the importation of the components, mainly the solar panels themselves, which has zero duty currently, but there are some misinterpretations where they've been applying 5 or 10% duty to some of the importations recently. So engagements on with government to make sure that is corrected. They already do have a plan to encourage more alternative energy use by 2030. But what they need to do is not just have the policy, but the implementation needs to be there. To achieve that, I think they need to go more towards mini grids, especially with solar and even with wind. they are best in small silos. Solar panels require a lot of ground space to mount the panels. So you couldn't do one that would power the whole country. You require a very large, big, like other places in the world, they look for very large acres of desert space where they can put panels. Here we probably don't have that much available land. So you do it in small bits. You do enough for, say you could do the island for Lagos. Look somewhere in the mainland with a lot of land, you could put a solar system for the mainland. So you break it up. So that's why you mini grid. You leave this main grid idea and take off small areas out of the grid and push them to solar or wind. And those areas get powered. So a mini grid. So they need to sort of come up with a big plan for that. And say from this year, this area will no longer be on the grid. We'll have an alternative power thing. And then, vendors like us would provide the service or bid for it and, do that. So they need to break down the country into small areas and start doing that.
Well, this has been a really enlightening time for me, and I'm sure for our viewers. I've learned so much. It has been very insightful. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your wealth of knowledge and experience with us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a great day, sir.
Thank you.
It's been a great time on the show today, very informative. So we come your way again next week. Remember, with Property First, you're covered. From the rest of the crew and I, have a productive week. My name is Laili Oyatogun.